The quiet habit that changed everything. When Daniel first opened the book, he did not expect anything to change. It was a thin paperback with a soft cover, slightly bent at the corners, something he had bought months earlier and placed on a shelf near his bed with the quiet hope that one day he would read it, and that evening he reached for it not because he felt inspired or disciplined, but simply because his phone battery had died and the apartment felt unusually silent, the kind of silence that invites thought. He sat down, leaned back against the wall, opened the first page, and began to read slowly, without pressure, without stopping for every unknown word, letting the sentences move forward naturally, even when some details were unclear. Daniel had been learning English for years, but progress always felt uncertain and uneven. He understood grammar rules and could explain them, yet speaking felt difficult and unnatural. Words appeared easily in exercises but disappeared in real conversations, and listening required so much effort that it left him tired. English lived mostly in his head, not in his voice. That night, however, reading felt different, because there was no goal to reach and no mistake to avoid, only a story moving calmly from one sentence to the next, and even when he did not understand everything, the meaning arrived slowly, like a picture becoming clearer with time. He read for about 10 minutes, maybe 15, then closed the book without finishing the chapter, and surprisingly, he did not feel guilty or disappointed. As he lay in bed, fragments of sentences stayed with him, not as rules to memorize, but as sounds and ideas, and the next morning, while making coffee, he noticed English words forming naturally in his thoughts, simple and imperfect, but alive. This small moment surprised him more than any exam result ever had, because it felt real. Daniel decided to read again the next evening, telling himself that 10 minutes was enough, that he did not need more time, more energy, or perfect focus. Some evenings he read a little longer, some evenings he stopped early, but he kept the habit light and realistic. He chose stories, short articles, and simple texts not because they were useful, but because they interested him, and when a word appeared again and again, its meaning slowly became clear without a dictionary. Sentence structures repeated themselves naturally, and grammar stopped feeling like a list of rules and started feeling like patterns his brain recognized on its own. As weeks passed, reading became a quiet part of his daily rhythm, something he looked forward to, not something he forced. He noticed that listening to English felt easier, as if his mind already expected the language. Words no longer arrived as separate sounds but as connected meaning, and he could stay with conversations longer without losing focus. Reading for just 10 to 15 minutes a day had trained his brain to remain inside English instead of translating it away. One afternoon at work, during a casual conversation, Daniel spoke without hesitation. He did not plan the sentence or search for the correct tense. The words came out naturally, not perfect, but clear and confident, and the conversation continued smoothly. Only later did he realize what had happened. Reading, done quietly and consistently, had filled his mind with ready language, waiting patiently for the right moment. Sometimes, Daniel read aloud, especially when he felt tired or unfocused. At first, his voice sounded careful and unsure, but over time it became steadier, and he noticed the rhythm of English, where sentences rise and fall, where pauses feel natural, where emphasis changes meaning. Pronunciation improved without conscious effort, and reading aloud turned written language into spoken language, and spoken language into confidence. Reading also gave Daniel something unexpected: ideas. Stories gave him opinions, articles gave him curiosity, and he found himself wanting to talk about what he had read, not to practice English, but to share thoughts. Conversations became easier because he had something to say, and English slowly became a tool for expression instead of a problem to solve. There were days when he read very little, days when he felt tired, distracted, or confused by the text, but he continued anyway, because the habit was gentle. 10 minutes felt possible even on difficult days. 1 page felt enough. Progress did not arrive suddenly or loudly. It came quietly, almost invisibly, through repetition and familiarity. Months later, Daniel looked at the shelf near his bed and saw several books standing there, each one representing small moments of effort, curiosity, and patience. He understood then that reading had not only improved his English, but had changed the way he learned. He no longer waited to feel ready, no longer believed that progress required long hours or perfect discipline. He trusted small daily actions, time, and consistency. English did not suddenly become perfect. But it became his. And all it took was a book, a quiet moment, and 10 to 15 minutes a day. Thank you for joining today and staying productive. See you in the next chapter.